heavy meta, well, honestly, on domination especially, I think it's a real big risk if you go for that Hela Namor, because if you lose the first fight, you're never getting that space back.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, this is laying the foundation for the knockout stage. The group stage is set. We find ourselves 100 Thieves versus OUG. Thank you for waiting as we find ourselves in the map of Krakoa, location here in Atlanta. We start again, Moxie, with the immediate ban of Mantis.
Yeah, there goes the Mantis, and there goes the Jeff save, because just as it's a very strong Adam map, so too is it an amazing Jeff map, and 100 Thieves in response have to ban the Venom, because as you talked about, that symbiotic shenanigans team up is just a little bit too strong. Do they go now for the save onto the Jeff themselves, or are they going to try and force OUG onto a line that now weakens a dive composition? This is a very good bait from 100 Thieves end.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we actually just talked about this in the green room. We said this is exactly how we expect the stage to be set in most of these matches. So what you're seeing here is probably what you're going to continue to see outside of some of the mirror matches and protecting here with that Venom. Rocket Raccoon. I know people might be a little bit shocked to see that, but again, what we just highlighted in the pre-show and the difference of that damage amplifier, setting up the team for different combos, the Star-Lord band to match.
I mean, not just that, but also the Jeff with the Rocket. That's a really good 2-2-2 backline to be able to play a full dive composition. Now, if they want to go for an undivable composition, they have to play Jeff with the Ultron, which has been massively nerfed, and we can see 100 Thieves prioritizing now. They go for the Invis save, so if it is dive, they've got the CC. If the Star-Lord gets through, they've got Invisible Boundary to be able to stop the Galactic Legend.
And just having Harvey comfortable. We've seen a lot of teams actually target against Harvey in this initial ban phase too, so having the Invis, he does a lot of cloak, we know, but Invis is going to be another one there to grab. But Psylocke is another hero we expect a lot of ban today. And listen, even though Delina doesn't play a lot of Psylocke as of recently, you have to nowadays with how well that hero is able to perform. That ultimate is absolutely crazy. We expect to see a lot of dance execution today. Last save here for OUG in the last ban. What do you expect to see here potentially?
Maybe this is going to be, well, I mean, OUG, they can't actually go for the Winter Soldier, which would have been my want for a ban against 100 Thieves here, because like Jeff in play, that Kraken impact is going to be very targeted when the Jeff comes on through, as OUG are going to be managing to save themselves the Star-Lord. 100 Thieves now, they could go for something like the Luna, they could go for something like the Invis, but they decided to go for the Captain America to again weaken that dive. Now if OUG want to actually have a Vanguard that gets to dive, they likely have to play something like the Hulk, or potentially the Angela, and that is going to further empower the Invis woman pick from 100 Thieves end.
Absolutely, Invis just such a great way to handle there the one-wing Angel. Love that we're starting things off with Angela here from OUG. Again, y'all, this team, they've got some great players, and even though they have 3 new additions to it, I expect the talent level to still be there. We'll see how they kind of lock in the coordination. That's what we have to look for when you do have new teammates come into play. 100 Thieves on the opposite end. They've been playing together now for about a full year. Can't believe we're approaching 1 year of this amazing game here, but they've been playing since Alpha Beta, so they are locked and loaded here, Mox.
I mean, 100 Thieves also have so many good turns that they could go for if this composition doesn't work. We saw a hint just that they haven't fully walked out of those spawn doors. We don't know if this is going to be a lock, but that was Hela Namor that we got to see. So this is going to be a full counter dive composition, which gets to work off of the fact that you got things like the Luna and the Invis through. Harvey is likely just going to be utilizing the Rocket now in spawn to be able to get the armor packs before swapping over to the Invis, so that you have the shield to be able to help the off angle of either the Hela or the Namor, and then Vinny on the Venom is going to be tasked with going in, disrupting, and allowing the space for the Hela and Namor to be able to find one of those magic picks. But no! They had the Invis woman, and they stick with the Rocket. They're going for full damage output!
Well, that might change when we see the Angela here in just a moment from the opposite side in opposition. Terra, as you know, usually Delina's going to play that Hela, but Terra can play anything in this game as we know, and Delina's going to be flexing over to that Namor pick, which, you know, we just had to have that team up on live, locked and loaded. Terra and the visual set to go. Team split up again. I love Terra here on the off angle. That's what you want as Hela, to catch them off guard here. Now, trying to push in. The point is open. Moxie as a beginning to fire away. Harvey with the res on Terra, who goes down immediately, caught on that off angle. Now it's going to be here a bit of Molan Ron, who's going to be playing that Jeff. Not for long, though, as Terra quickly silences him to the grave of the respawn room, and it's looking like 100 Thieves is using their aggression that this team is known for to get the point early.
Yeah, and we're getting eliminations coming on through, which means that those undead monsters are spawning, and OUG don't have any way of being able to take them down. So for 3 seconds, for every single one of those spawning, both the Star-Lord and the Ultron are being hard focused down with no way of returning fire, which means that those flyers do not get the space to be able to play with. And 100 Thieves, that was the hardest fight for them. They're now going to be in a position with both the Hela and the Namor on an off angle, so far away from OUG's initial dive that they're going to lose a player potentially on the reset.
Yeah, absolutely. Vinny can set up perfectly here. They've got the ult charge advantage as well. Getting that first point is so important here on Domination. As you know, Hellfire Gala is hosting this grand finals to start things off now, as we have Delina setting up those turrets ready for any type of flank. They see Ultron now behind, even though we didn't expect to see a lot. This is the way they're going to roll in the skies, and it is a great opening here from OUG. Do not sleep on this team. You may not know a lot of, but right now it's the Vanguards getting it done now, as both Angela and Emma getting it quickly done, and Taro Cookie getting up the scraps there from Star-Lord.
This is really problematic for 100 Thieves as well, because TTK on the Emma has sort of been the anchor on the point, but none of these fights are really happening on the point. There's no one for the Emma to be able to walk onto, so the ultimate that you would rely being your retake, Psionic Seduction, is not yet charged, which means that OUG are going to get an opportunity. They can disrupt on the walk-up, they can try and force some of these ultimates, and then they can move away. Or they can just go first with Rage of Ultron and push 100 Thieves out of being able to build an ultimate up to try and contest.
Yeah, it's the 4.5 meta, but there it is. Extermination opening the fight. This is an aggressive team, and I love both of them clashing together like the titans they are, as the grand finale pops from MASH now, looking for the opening for this team. Taro Cookie got the pick there on Venom earlier on Vinny, now looking for more. The whale comes out, lands. It's Moby Dick going down on Luna Snow, taken down quickly here, moving forward. Delina is going to look for more, but Taro Cookie wants to see if they can match. Good seduction there to counter a little bit of that Galactic Legend along with Harvey, and just like that 100 Thieves, they slow things down and get things back in their favor.
OUG are still trying to win this though. They popped the Edge Jeff. Mulan is going to have that healing puddle on the point, though it has already flipped over to control of 100 Thieves. So this is just a matter of trying to find some of these late picks for OUG's faster moving composition to be able to set up faster for the next fight and go when 100 Thieves are lacking one of those main strategists. Harvey being picked means that the BRB is not in position, so 100 Thieves can't hold as close and be as punishing on the dive as marking them as they have been previously.
Yeah, and that's what they like to do, right? They love to keep that aggression forward, so they're kind of caught a little bit backhanded, but wow, look at this absolute aggression trying to force not only the blessings of the deep, what a huge ability to get that out early, but they just want the full elimination here, as Delina's just begging for life, does not find it, gets the, at least a squid help there, but Tara and Harvey picking up there on the elimination. Taro Cookie going to be going down. That's going to shut down the duelist threat that is going to be on the off point, but right now it's the Emma show, and as you highlighted, TTK, the best at it, shows DRP what's up there as they get that elimination. Tara picks up the scraps, and now we're at 93%.
Yeah, Vinny as well, body blocking so the Heller is able to get away without being punished, which means the Rocket BRB is still going to be up in play. Tara hasn't been forced into using the Goddess of Death, so he's going to have it for the overtime, which means OUG have to go directly into this as they go for the Strange Portal. They've got ultimates to come on through. It's going to open up with Heaven's Retribution, paired with the Rage of Ultron when everyone's just trapped in that space. But do they have the damage to be able to find the picks through the sustain?
Wow, look at the Goddess of Death just throwing it down. Tara opening this with an absolute show, ladies and gentlemen. Now it gets 2 picks and more, 99%. Just a pixel left on the overtime. Tara looking for that off angle. Vinny with the capitalization. Svald getting out of here, and the Luna, the team trying to hang on. OUG is going to go and fall on the first point, and a lot of those ults with it, Moxie. And so going into this next one here in Carousel, they're going to have to look to bounce back.
Yeah, and it's Carousel, not Cradle, which is really unfortunate
Yeah.
for both the Adam and the Jeff composition to come on through. I will say, though, Cradle is probably the better map for the Heller and the Namor because of the really, distant angles that you have, and also the space that you can rotate around the map. If you fail into winning the first fight, you can at least take the portal to avoid the poke coming on through from the Heller Namor. Here, it's going to be a lot easier for OUG to be able to get directly on top of either the Heller and the Namor, which has been so problematic for them on the previous map.
Certainly, and Adam is available for both. You know, obviously what you point out that last map is all the more clutch with the Adam. Taking a look though, like we said, Tara and Delina, when they're both lock and key, they are hard to stop 100 Thieves, and look at this, 7K, 7K, 13 and 3, 15 and 2. That's exactly the start they wanted to have. I will say I'm impressed though, Moxie, with OUG and the tenacity to just go right into this and pick up from that aggressive playstyle, even out a few members.
Well, speaking about tenacity, we're going to be seeing a change come on for Merlin Run is actually onto the Psylocke, and now we have the 50-50 battle of whether or not you can win against the Hela before she hits the Soul Drainer into the headshot follow-up. It's all going to be about this first fight, but like you said, OUG burning their ultimate economy in the last one sets 100 Thieves up for a massive advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. Here is now they trying to get this early setup. Again, as you said, this first point is kind of the hardest one for 100 Thieves to land, and once they got it from there, the defensive effort a bit easier, but it's going to be Terra Cookie trying to take it right to Terra, but found a battle. He does not want to fight with the Goddess of Death. Goodbye, Peter Quill. It's going to be the Goddess of Death getting the best of that one. Terra now hunting for more, but Delina, TTK pick up the rest of the scraps, and as you said, Molan Ron there, great at the duelist position, but not much you can do when your whole team's out.
Yeah, and the Astral Flock as well coming on through from Terra so that he can reposition, get the Snowflake coming on through from the Idol Ore, fully stabilized by the rest of his team, as we're going to see OUG actually now swap. Terra Cookie is going to go over to the Winter Soldier, the Bucky with the Bionic Hook being able to put pressure onto the Venom, who's looking for just token disruption, is now going to mean that Venom could potentially get pulled into overextending, so Terra and Delina lose their setup.
Yeah, that's a good thing to identify because it is right now Vinny, and what he's continuing to do is that rotation, just make things struggle in the backline, and there it is right there, ladies and gentlemen. Molan Ron getting the best of Terra this time and getting that last laugh, now going invisible. Looking for more is going to be the ninja herself, the Yokai Slayer. It's going to be the Dance of the Butterflies going to activate, and right there just going to go ahead and at least bait out Millennia and getting that show rolling for the team, and that's going to now have the whole entire OUG with the seduction, eyes on the thighs, as Ship likes to say, Terra and more, getting at least a little bit of momentum down with Molan Ron being eliminated. OUG, though, has the gauntlet of ultimates here, Moxie, to utilize.
Yeah, I mean, 100 Thieves are there to hit their weak conditions, though. Out comes Sonic Seduction. It's going to be countered by the Fate of Both Worlds coming on through from OUG's end, but look at what Terra is doing. He's waiting. Out comes the Soldier in it into the Goddess of Death so he can avoid the Kraken impact connections. Coming on through from Terra Cookie, and everyone on the point is just going to be able to absolutely melt through the Hellas Overhealth, and finally OUG should be able to find this win. The problem for them is the amount of point percentage it's costing them, as 100 Thieves are still stalling this point.
Blinken is 78% already against TTK too, just absolutely getting it done. The rest of the team fell, and you did have the res there on Delina, but TTK, just an absolute monster in Fortress, quite the literal definition of a vanguard for this team.
Oh,
Moxie has it set up 90%, and here they come.
There's no portal for overtime. This is a huge investment coming up from OUG's end, and they don't have an ultimate to be able to come out of the back of it. Out comes the tidal dirge from Delina, putting that damage in, but also slowing everyone on the side of OUG so they get pushed back by 100 Thieves, and they have no way in overtime of getting onto either the Hell or the Nemo.
What a way to open things up with the Dirge to get things rolling. Vinny is going to get the best of the strategists out of there, and on top, look at Vinny and what he's able to do for this team. They did get the recap, and so yes, that full portal commit was a lot, as Delina, though, continues to clean up, and now there's nothing they can do to bounce back from this stagger. This is going to be a point that looks to be lost, unfortunately, because that full commit there, 93% in.
Yeah, 100 Thieves have spread themselves. Dive looks to find isolated targets and stack numbers so that they're taking the advantages at the beginning of those fights. And that was something that OUG also found out to their detriment, right? Dive at the beginning of the fight, when it has access to all of their cooldowns, is at its strongest. If those fights go longer, it's really, really weak in comparison to the overall sustainability of a Hela, a Namor, an Emma, a Venom, a Luna, and a Rocket, which meant that 100 Thieves, all they really had to do was absorb the initial commitment of that dive, and then they would just be able to lengthen the fight out until they hit one of their win conditions, and the dive had to back off and look for a stabilized opportunity. And when it's played on domination, teams having to back off from fights and get baited into taking longer fights, losing point percentage, then puts them into a really uncomfortable corner when it comes to overcommitting ultimates so they can finish a fight.
Well, TTK got the MVP, but I want to shout out the Vinny effect. You can see right here, look at the difference in strategist healings and eliminations and what they're able to put together. I mean, that's with Vinny just constantly in that backline. It's going to take away their ability to be able to heal and keep their team up, and having to help outside of that with the elimination front. But TTK 19-2, 11 elims up. This is looking like the team that I left here in the grand finals, Moxie. And what a way, again, to open. I love that we have two aggressive teams, because, you know, when you have that kind of more defensive-focused teams, we have a little bit of a different rotation. Portal at 93%, I think that's the definition of aggressive.
You know what I love as well from 100 Thieves? The fact that they had the invis, like they went so far as saving the invis. And then they actually picked the rocket, and it's so smart. It actually makes so much sense, because if you go for the rocket, right, you've got the BRB. If they're looking for the rocket to stop the BRB from coming on through, they're not looking at the Hela, they're not looking at the Nemo. If they go for either the Hela or the Nemo at the beginning of the fight, the BRB is still going to be in place, so they commit their positions so deep into 100 Thieves' end, which is then punished and traded, and there's no trade back. The stock exchange absolutely crashes in comparison to the absolute daylight robbery of a deal that 100 Thieves are able to make out with. More point percentage, still getting their angles, and a full reset of their duelists into a better safeguarded position from where the BRV are stationed.
Yeah, there's at least 3 just clutch reses there that really kept the momentum on. I mean, 70% and climbing. That sustained effort of keeping the point on theirs, especially on that last point, was purely because of that res from Delina after TTK kept them afloat. Do love that, and I love when we see that from teams. You see the picks come in, the saves, and then you don't even see that hero whatsoever.
Yeah, and you would think Harvey would go for the invis, right? Because he used to be known as like that Loki, then he started branching on out. We've seen him on so many heroes, but you can literally say, right, you've seen him on invis so much, it's a staple.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, listen, this is what this team does well. They don't always just focus one thing. Their flexibility has gone up massively. What a way, ladies and gentlemen, to open up the grand finals, but it's best of 3. We've got more action coming your way in just a second after this quick break.
Which is like the coin flip, right?
Yeah, right?
At the beginning in those first fights, no team has the advantage, no team has that prior positioning. Now whenever you move, if it's convoy, if it's convergence, it's regardless of the map type. At some point you have to walk into a defensive least stat of 100 Thieves, which means at some point you have to walk into that Hela and Namor angle. So is it worth actually target banning it out? immediately. There's the Mantis. This is something that we're going to be seeing the entire day.
Yeah.
I have no doubt of. I want to see how OUG adapt into the Hella Nemo, though.
Yeah, so OUG will be selecting Midtown as their map of choice to try to bounce things back here. And again, yeah, that first ban, we can just call the Mantis ban. We can almost talk right through it. We just know what to expect at this point. We're going to get the Imma save over there from OUG to try to help again with what is going to be pretty relentless in the dive front. You're going to have the Jeff there, going to be banned right after that. So do you expect the same kind of song and dance here with the save this time around? Oh, going to Imma for TTK.
Yeah, I mean, Emma has to be one of those Vanguards you look to in the convoy because we know at this point, right? First hold is going to be triple setup. And Emma with the Carbon Crush is one of the things that can actually punish Vanguards just staggering their position on the objective to stall out as much time as you possibly can. So even if the attacking team manages to push for the first point, they don't have anything left into second or third, as we're going to be seeing the Venom taken out now from the side of 100 Thieves, as Jeff was still in play too.
Yeah, and I think the Venom is just a good identifier of weakness there for that team. I think Vinny, obviously, we just saw what it did there to the strategist backline, but Vinny's just going to be able to flex right to Captain America if he chooses. So unless they go for both dive, which I don't expect. Adam Warlock not being banned on Domination, but they are going to ban him here on the old Midtown, which I do think is a good play. You know, we do see, not from 100 Thieves specifically, but we've seen double res at times from 100 Thieves. Delena just playing this role so well. Same with the Infant save, though, here on the back end. We got one more ban left for OUG.
Yeah, I believe they actually have played the Loki Adam Mantis composition before. They played it against, I believe it was FlyQuest on Symbiotic Surface. So OUG have done their homework, and there it is! I was right!
Yes.
Hella and Namor team up divorced, as we're not going to be seeing the title dirge. The Goddess of Death is going to be sitting this one out, as we can see what exactly OUG want to use this last save slot onto. They can't go the Mantis. If they want to go for a dive component, they could go for something like a Star-Lord, or they could try and go for a strategist set up here, and they decide to go for the Venom, so that we're still going to be seeing the dive, but also the anti-heal effect on the Feast of the Abyss to punish if 100 Thieves stack up.
I gotta hand it to them. Sometimes you see kind of the same team go with the same strategy they had in map 1, but they are directly targeting what was their weakness there in Domination. May not, you know, come to full because this team does have so much flexibility. Not even sure if 100 Thieves wants to run exactly that comp to begin with, but it is smart to separate the power duo right now outside of Moxie, myself, and Namor and Hella. Now looking at our last bit of homework and what has been put together here. Luna going to be that last ban, and so to shut down a little bit what this team can do on this strategist front, but triple Vanguard up top there to set things up defensively.
Yeah, the Luna is going to really weaken the staying power of the Vanguards, but it also means that the Venom's Feast of the Abyss isn't going to be able to sync up and become a duet with Fate of Both Worlds and Feast of the Abyss. The 40% pump on it can be pretty lethal in terms of 100 Thieves having to deal with it. However, Loki managed to make it through, and Rocket managed to make it through, and we haven't seen this composition in Ignite, but there was actually a composition which was starting to pick up traction in both the Marvel Rivals Championship and a couple of grassroots tournaments, where you actually got to play Loki with the Rocket, and you would utilize the fact that the Rocket's ultimate now having 40% damage amp, you would copy the Rocket. You would get 2 Cosmic Yarn amplifiers off, though I feel in the composition like this, where you don't have a hypercarry duelist to look for those damage boosts, it's far more likely that Harvey's going to be copying Delena on the Invis instead.
That's what I expect as well. They used to call it the Animal Crossing backline with a little bit of trickery now there, with Harvey being on the old favorite of Loki. And hey, don't let Terra fool you. You can play duelist, but this man is a mean Sorcerer Supreme here in Doctor Strange as the teams get set. OUG, again, in these offenses approach to make this space. Typically, you know, we did see Storms in the past of Season 4. They're going to be going with the Psylocke into the Star-Lord, trying to split things up. Again, we saw Molon Ron do good and get a couple picks early, but the team follow-up is what we want to see here. So they're taking the high ground, and right away, there's that aggression, just putting these strategies. Spald is almost going back to the spawn, Moxie.
Yeah, I mean, regen domain. They're going to be able to find the first pick, and it is crucially going to be a Millennia, which means that no Rocket BRB to be able to bring them back. And then Harvey goes down almost immediately afterwards, as Invis is just not going to be in a position to be able to help them. She's trying to help the Vanguards so that she can get the most amount of pierce coming on her from the primary, and off of the back of that, OUG managed to brute force the first fight immediately. We're getting to see that dive properly come through. We're going to see a strange portal from 100 Thieves, I would imagine, onto the high ground so that they can try and drop down onto the objective, or they might hold it as, there we go, it is going to be a portal, but it's going to be on the objective instead, so they can rush one of these players who's a little bit weak and separated.
Absolutely, that's where the Strange comes in so much handy here, especially making it almost a 4-fight win for point number 1, but to your point, OUG is already locked and loaded now with the ult economy pretty close on both sides of things. The strategist going down early, though, is going to give that advantage to OUG. Looking early, it's Terra trying to get the pressure on Shield going down quickly, and Delena at this point on the invis. You do have the res on Harvey, but right now they are just targeting, finding, and hunting right now, shall I say, Moxie. These 100 Thieves players, Molon gets another.
Yeah, and I mean, 100 Thieves at that point, they just didn't have the damage to be able to break the Cosmic Ion Amplifier in time, so OUG essentially got the full impact of the 40% damage boost. So because they used ultimates at the beginning of the fight, the Rocket ultimate has now allowed them to rebuild those ultimates and have them back up for this next fight when we know that 100 Thieves do not have the Strange Portal. So out comes the counter dive measures. It's going to be break glass in case of emergency. Terra's going to go over to the Winter Soldier, manages to retain 50% charge to that first Kraken impact, and it's going to be up to Vinny on the Captain America to keep the objective contested. But easy said than done. When's the next substance in play?
Absolutely. OUG has everything on lock, and they're using it right away. The Infinity War coming at us here in Atlanta, Georgia. TTK trying to slow things down with the Seduction, and Terra's so close with that Agamotto. Now, again, breaking glass in case of emergency, but the glass is already broken in the terms of 100 Thieves team. Now, it's just OUG full gas up Main Street. That wasn't even a competition of 3 different fights, just rough around the edges, and really, as you know, it could just snowball through these points whenever you're unable to get things rolling.
Yeah, this is a one fight into half turn fight meta. Essentially, 1.5, 1.5, and that's perfect tempo for a dive composition because you're already getting to see here. It's just OUG sending in their Venom, disrupting 100 Thieves, making sure that they don't have an angle for the Winter Soldier to mark things like the Psylocke and the Star-Lord, and then apply pressure at the front line and wait for an opportunity to move in. However, Terra is able to find the pick onto Dudu, and that is now going to mean that the Venom disruption has been removed, and OUG have to rely on Ward healing instead.
Wow, and so what they have 100 Thieves here, as Delin is going to be popping up that invisible boundary. Harvey will be able to help out as well to get a little bit of that sustained rolling to help through this 40%. And look at that delay of the Legendary to now bait out Harvey and get that ultimate out. They did great ult tracking there as both strategists now found empty in the ult economy. Terra throwing it down, that Kraken impact, not getting an impact this time around, trying to get that reset. And great little hide and seek there behind the pillar as they're just trying to hold on, get back with the team. Nice little Captain America team up we don't get to see often. Moxie love to have that there with Steve Rogers and co. But Delina does find Terra, which has been a big threat to them in that backline. So this at least gives them a little bit of breathing room through all this as Vinny tries to hunt down the remaining members of OUG.
OUG aren't full going for the reset. They're wanting to hold this position because they're going to come on through with the Dance of the Butterflies and the Sonic Seduction. And it's going to have to force 100 Thieves' hand. They've got to use the Emma ultimate to break around that corner and push into OUG to turn it into a brawl.
Wow, Terra with the 1-2 quick pop there, and even though you do get the res, they are going to be able to keep that snowballing here. We just talked about Winter Soldier being that snowball. Terra doing it at best now in a pistol fight there on the top end of Terra. It is going to be Winter v. Winter. You've seen it before in the multiverse. Now it's here live in Marvel Rivals. TTK getting the best, and they really shut down this Venom very well. I think that's what 100 Thieves has done well in this first bit of the fight. And like you said, there's these half fights right now. We're finding ourselves right before that here as we're about to jump into another Moxie.
This is a full reset though. Now OUG do actually have to go for those really punishing chokes, although 100 Thieves don't have a position on the high ground, and it's going to be Sonic Seduction coming on through. Good force physics there from Delena to make sure that the Emma doesn't find the opening immediately into the team, and they get the opportunity to disengage without using an ultimate and can just take cover and win the ultimate economy when the fight begins anew.
Absolutely, got the piece of the best ready here. He's going to be looking for his prey. He's going to be popping it up, and Terra's trying to find it from it now, going up in, munching, not getting anything successfully from that damage amplifier as well. Great job, 100 Thieves, staying alive through it. Terra hunting down quickly. The Venom has been easy prey so far, but this time wrapping around the back end, but bam, pop, goes the Ema. DRP is down, followed by MASH. Terra and TTK continue to get it done, and they push back alongside it. Millennia hunting out the prey. What a win on the one-on-one there from Mulan Ron.
There's a danger here, though, because 100 Thieves used Invis Boundary in that fight, and Taro Cookie is still going to have the Kraken impact. However, OUG, once again, to be able to use those ultimates, they have to first get into position to be able to use them, which means Lucky has to go through all of the damage that the 100 Thieves could do, which is going to give Harvey that opportunity to build up the God of Mischief and then copy the Invis.
Yeah, Harvey at the perfect spot right now, 74%. It's going to be right there on the money. We're going to see who pulls the Q first in this regard, or the double sticks if you're in the terms of TTK now pushing forward. Is going to be Terra Cookie with that Kraken impact. Just so many metas before it. Winter Soldier has just continued to rain down on these heroes, and Vinny just getting the best. Once again, it's going to be, unfortunately, the Venom, which is going to have a full little stop here as we reset and reload.
That was the BOV. I mean, it was the BOV. At least they're not going to lose all of the momentum. They're at least for the most part, through that choke coming on through, which does mean that it's not going to be a full reset. 100 Thieves aren't going to be able to use it to leverage a position onto the high ground to be able to mark out the dive and then have to like take the fight, find a pick, punish the BOB's use, and then just keep, again, picking at that thread, stopping the dive. There's a reason that we say that dive is strong when it's in control of the space and horrible into having to play into retake when you don't control any of it.
Yeah, if you get picked early, I mean, it's just going to be over from there. The pace has been relentless thus far, so we just take a little breather now to reset and kind of what we've looked at. Yeah, breathe in, breathe out here, both here and at home, y'all. But yeah, what I want to say is OUG opening up perfectly, correcting the mistakes that they made there on the initial front. Those pick and bans actually come into light a ton too, as we've highlighted with that Namor Helicom. It's giving them no time to breathe whatsoever. Terra was at 94% when he swapped from the Strange to the Bucky. They had to roll that route, and so that point 1, they just answered it all perfectly. Point 2 to point 3, though, I expect a little bit of a different momentum heading in.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to dive on second because there's just so much natural cover for the defense, right? Because first part of the part of second, yeah, a lot of it is out in the open and there's high ground and verticality everywhere. But then you get to the second half of second and all of a sudden you've got subway coverage, which just means that the defenders, we saw it so many times, right? Force physics when you see them looking for that approach, and then literally everyone just turn tails and kites. And you don't need to use anything for it, and that's where things like the Loki comes into play, right? Loki, yeah, he's been hit by a lot of nerfs. I know, I feel you. I was a Loki main in Season 0 too, okay? But he's still incredibly strong in professional play for the reason that regen domain is a cooldown that has the effect of an ultimate, which doesn't come with an ultimate cost, which you can then weave. That's what we're starting to see from things like the Loki. It makes up for the windows when you don't have an ultimate ready to go. So if you're going up against something like a Starlord's Galactic Legend for the dive team to be able to retake into that space and move forward, everyone just uses the regen domain 1, 2, 3 as stepping stones to get into a safer position.
It was those abilities that aren't the ultimates that we kind of highlighted at the beginning of the show. There's so many of those that play that important role altogether, and it's just so fun to watch these top teams, the best in the world at it in OUG, and what they're bringing from the China front over to 100 Thieves, and how metas change, hero, different locks. I mean, again, Mulan Ron wants to play that Iron Man, they know it, but doing a great job there on the Psylocke. But for me right now, I think the difference is that dive hero, as you pointed out. Vinny versus Dewey on the other side. I mean, they've really figured out how to do a quick stop, and if you're Taro, I want to see them be able to do a little bit of a better job slowing down Vinny. That's been a big highlight for me there, Mox.
I mean, a lot of it is just off of the cooldowns that this poor Venom is having to dive into, right? Like,
yeah, fair enough.
At the beginning of the fight, we've talked about it, dive really, really strong at the beginning of the fight, all of your cooldowns are up. However, when you're beginning to dive, so too are all of the cooldowns up for your opponent. And that's why, like, a lot of the time when we see dive compositions, we talk about the different kinds of dive. It's not just we dive for an elimination. No, dive is like the most complicated kind of coordinated play to actually pull off successfully because you have so many different types. So you've got your very basic, right, your hard dive, which is the most common. It's literally like 3, 2, 1, we're all going to hit this one specific player, we're going to jump on him, and we're going to eliminate him almost immediately. That's your hard dive. Then we have something called a soft dive, which is sort of like a staggered dive, right? Yeah. You sort of rely on just like one person going on through, typically your Vanguard player because of the mobility and also the additional health pool that they have so that they can survive that focus that is going to be there, because when you dive someone, you're expecting peel to come through. So when we talk about soft dives, we're talking about like you're in for 2 seconds, you're gone. You go in, you put a little bit of pressure, you're not looking to stay, you're not looking for the elimination, you're just trying to force a resource. So something like a force physics coming in from an invis, regen domain is like the golden ticket if you're up against a Loki, but at the same time there's a counter to that, and that's if you get wizened up to, if teams realize that it's just soft dive, soft dive, soft dive, they start ignoring it, and you start losing all of that momentum.
Yeah, that pressure, not just for the Vanguard roll all the time to continue on, just going in and out. Obviously, heroes like Venom doing such a great job at that. Psylocke as well, as we get a little bit of Psylocke vs Psylocke battle now. Looking at the seduction rolling right away again, where we pick off Harvey's going to get that ultimate in time. We're going to have the invisible boundary come from the Psylocke. Mulan Ron, though, completely out of there, getting nothing from the dance of the butterflies, and it's going to be Taro with the Kraken impact instead of Taro that we're looking for. A little bit of name play there as Mash goes down, Strategist down. Taro, though, turns the corner, peels for the team, does get a duelist out of there to open up 11 seconds, though. Not much Moxie, as now Millennia is going to get the best of DRP.
Portal. There should be a portal. Because they were able to buffer 100 Thieves walking to the spawn, OUG got the portal through, and they've got players on objective.
Wow, I just can't believe that we had Terra able to get the one, and Terra had to use their entire Kraken impact to make no impact but keeping their team alive. We got the Wolverine coming, little bit of Logan play as Harvey gets the rare copy on Wolverine to open things up. Nothing from it, but man, he does get the aura points. I'm gonna have to give him that. Now we've got Vinny with Mash again. Mash just seeing the respawn room the entire time in this early offensive push now, and 100 Thieves just has to clean up the scraps as Dude goes down as the strange Mulan run, trying to get Harvey down, but man, that matchup's so tough on the sideline. V Loki, this is looking rough.
Yeah, this is just treading water. At this point is the phase of the fight that I refer to, and it's quite literally because we've got the Edge Chef coming on Pro 2 to make sure that he gets the eat onto any players looking to move through those chokes and onto point. That's one of the problems with Dive, right? When it's not in control of the space, the wheels really start falling off the closer that the defenders spawn gets to that fight, because those fights are going to go long, and the amount of eliminations that you're actually getting, they're so few and far between. The regroup is almost immediately there for the defenders in comparison to the Dive, where you have to walk so far forward. Like, yeah, you've all got mobility and you're all very fast moving, but the second that one of those players falls, the brawl comp's just going to move forward.
And the longer the fight, the more coordination needed, and that's right now we're seeing that talent come from OUG, but the longer the fight, the more edge you get to 100 Thieves, as we see kind of the old what we've been seeing in the America region. Again, this opening of that Storm damage boost, Omega level X-Men able to get everyone rolling. And I'm telling you, if you're a Moon Knight main, you're going to see plenty of it here in Ignite, not only because we do have more Lokis getting out there, but just what Moon Knight can offer in this opening get out. I mean, Khonshu's ready to throw the hands out within seconds here. Watch Terra's ult meter as we go and open up the gates here shortly.
Yeah, not just that, but the Moon Knight's able to go through and play on the high ground. So you really punish, like, a lot of these triple compositions need to have staggered positions on the objective, which means that they play for low ground. They play for that brute force main fight. They give up positioning on some of those side angles. So someone is going to have to detach from the team and check and clear the lane of Terra on the Moon Knight. Otherwise, the Hunt of Khonshu is just going to build up way too quickly, and they're going to combine it with the Strangling Prison as gates open, and OUG, because of that ammo from TTK, can't have their cap in that position.
Yeah, you know what I want to look for here is if Terra uses the ult before Vinny's able to get up. Sometimes we see the aggressiveness from this team. We've seen it before with 100 Thieves in the high ground, as you said. Right now, Molan Ron going to be up there in Magneto. We'll see if the Moon Knight wants to try to match now, jumping down. Good positioning here, like the role that the OUG's trying to play here, but right now just surviving the initial onslaught. It's all pressure and push right now for this team. Love the new skin here as Delina is flexing there from Storm and that damage boost, staying close to the team and getting the pressure now back on him, forcing him off the high ground.
Yeah, I mean, the force physics into the Groot Wall isolations too, so that OUG with things like the Adam lose the LLS to be able to keep these players up. Rocket BOB comes into play, but unfortunately by the time it takes for the player to get back into position, everyone gets walked on, because 100 Thieves, not only do they have the Moon Knight, they've got the Storm for the spawn break opportunity too, which means that you just pop your damage boost and everyone moves forward.
Yeah, here comes a portal, and I don't know if they're going to go right into the hand of Khonshu, but it's going to be Terra.
He's charging it. He's waiting.
Oh my goodness.
It's position.
Look at this. Ready to go. Just rolling right down. Come on through and get your admission to the respawn room, as they're able to use some of the cooldowns to get out of there. But again, that's going to slow down that mobility initial in this opening fight. Terra Cookie's going to use that passive right away. Mulan already so short there, trying to get that battle on Moon Knight, probably their best matchup.
This is really rough for OUG, because like you said, they had to use the self-res, which means that Terra Cookie, even with comic refer, it's the Jeff Nato. Citadel! We've been looking at Citadel bots 100 piece. I see you. Take them out of Invis Boundary. Out comes that Jeff Nato. There's the comic revival. Everybody getting the overshields, and everyone's just right back into the fight when OUG still have all of the economy with the Dance of the Butterflies.
That is what you can do when you play Marvel Zombies with the respawn there from Terra Cookie. Great job being able to stay out of that Jeff Nato. I mean, everyone win, but the most important hero in it, and that gives them life here. In fact, a better life in the .1 that they had against Terra, or against 100 Thieves here. Now, Harvey does have a visible boundary. Terra's obviously going to be close to the Kraken impact to get things rolling for them, so they have the sustain and that pressure, but on the opposite side, I mean, they're going to be able to deal with that any way they want. Choose their poison here.
Dance of the Butterflies is going to force out the Invis Boundary on main, and out comes the eye back up to, oh my goodness, TTK! He gets the Carbon Crush onto the Strange, and he stops the Eye of Agamotto being able to punish the emphasis position.
This guy's game sense is absolutely phenomenal. Vinny now pushing forward as the Groot 50% and climbing now. Terra to follow. We're going to get that full pressure pushing. Mash out of here. .1 going to 100 Thieves now. Pushing into the subway coverage change. As we just said here, Vicky, and what do you expect to see from swaps of OUG?
I mean, it's Kraken impact time. Straight up Kraken impact time. Yeah, well, actually, no, it's going to be dive counter. So they looked at 100 Thieves composition. position, and they're going to be swapping over to the Hela and the Namor to have hit scan to pressure the Storm.
Yeah, I like this actually. You know, you bandit, you might as well use it on your side of the coin here now, trying to take up this back flank again, trying to get these off angles, get your squids set up, but it's going to be tough to do when Terra and TTK are both locked and loaded. You can see the seduction into the impact if we choose to go that route, but it's Vinny just doing it the old-fashioned way. He's going to be a hero that doesn't speak a lot, but his ult speaks volumes as he charges up shortly due. Going to get Terra out of here, though. That's definitely going to help them just get the aggression off, but as you said, the momentum is going to continue to push.
OUG are going to keep pushing as well. Sonic Seduction versus Psionic Seduction, but Taro Cookie gets the better with the hit scan taking down the Storm, and we're going to see 100 Thieves start to lose some of these players. They do trade, though, against that Namor, and they're really holding on because Vinny and Terra are about to hit the Wombo combo. Can OUG position around it, or are they going to lose all of that team in one fell swoop?
Yeah, there's not a lot you can do about how strong the combo is. They were able to at least survive last time with the Atom, but this time, obviously, you've got Terra now on the Hela, who's not even going to be in the first fight to find it. It's going to be Terra, and oh my goodness here. Spell's going to bring Terra back, but okay. I have to say, great job surviving what was going to be the onslaught there from Vinny. The Kraken impact did not follow, and at this point, just trying to escape Vinny. Good pressure.
It was DOP. DOP comes on through. Yeah, Strangling Presence manages to find the hit, but it's DOP who buys the space back with the Meteor M, puts the pressure onto Terra so he doesn't feel confident going for the follow-up of the Kraken impact, and off of the back of that, OUG stabilized the hold.
Huge small play there from DRP, or big play, small thing, big play, as I like to say, but looking at it now again, ready for the next fight. 100 Thieves has exactly what they're ready. TTK already back around. I mean, how is this absolutely possible?
I mean, Molan Ran too, with the Horn of Proteus, can put it right onto Terra as well with the Earthbound properties to be able to stop the Bucky's mobility when he looks for that ultimate. There's so much workaround now for OUG. They've really bought themselves a huge breathing space against the win conditions.
Wow.
As Terra just gets picked. The Tidal Dirge team up, it doesn't just do damage, it's got slow on the properties too.
Yeah, and that anti-dive you just highlighted. Now, whenever you get that first win, it makes it so much easier. It's that first win that you got to get, then you can set up, get that high ground, get ready to go in the off positioning, and that makes it so hard. We just saw Molan Ran be able to collapse the entire sea with him as they just continue to hunt down their prey. Vinny now, as Steve Rogers, trying to get a little bit of space to that backline that he did so well in domination, looking for more. Again, you do have Delina that can go with the dance execution. It's going to be, wow, Delina out of here. That's, wow.
It was a bait. Taro Cookie knew it was a bait to get the Psylocke more space to get into position to use down to the butterflies. And OUG read it perfectly.
Complete perfection there. They escaped all of it. I mean, Terra had no impact, quite literally, there on the Bucky. And great rotation here from Match. I mean, what a huge defensive effort from 100 Thieves, but OUG matching it with this quick switch of the combo. Laurent gets another pick on Terra, but Millennia getting it done, at least making this somewhat of a fair duelist fight. Delina has to nail this dance. Execution, DRP throwing it down, the connection's not there, no all-oop to be found. Can Delina find the angle? It's going to come down to this quick play. Millennia also being able to keep the team alive, and there it is. Can they get one? He found... There's some help from Millennia. He's going to go for the other. DRP trying to stay alive. Good sustain there, though, from OUG.
But there's another fight after this. OUG don't commit ultimates. They know that they're going to lose. They're stands of the butterflies. They have nothing to be able to stop it. They don't want as well to stagger themselves out. So they all let the Psylocke get those eliminations so that now they can swap over to things like Venom, Molan run onto the Atom to have the Soulbind, and you have advantage into this next fight. You just have to survive the ultimates that 100 Thieves have, especially with Terra moving onto the Punisher. Now on overtime, everyone's got to walk directly into him.
Yeah, this is OUG's fight to lose. I mean, they have everything ready to go. I love Molan Ran here on the Atom as well, but Terra finds the best of GRP with that shotgun. Going to be a quick res to bring him back to the fight, but that is going to give them plenty of momentum pushing forward. Here's the show, keeping the team alive with the sustain, and that just helps Punisher fuel the fire that much more. Vinny finding more of that Venom, but Terra throws down the Kraken again. Terra, though, it's Terra v. Terra. My goodness.
The res!
Oh, wait!
Oh no! OUG, they tried like so hard. You could see the game plan starting to form, right? But unfortunately, the strategist ultimates from 100 Thieves, like, they were just so bull.
I wish you could see the camera on both of us. She's pointing at the res, I'm pointing at the point. It all collides into one, and OUG with a monumental defense to try to keep things their way on point 2 was not enough. 100 Thieves is going to be taking this first match in the round robin of this group to get the first win over OUG Wow, Moxie, what a way to open things up as we look at the stats.
Yeah, 100 Thieves looking really, really strong. I mean, we were looking at the roster and we were like, this is such a good meta for them, right?
Yeah.
Like, the fact as well that it's Terra for the most part who's moved over to the Hela and Delena, who's actually been playing other things when we saw Delena be the staple Hela player, just goes to show how flexible Terra truly is. Like, what a star duelist player this guy is. He really is like one of the future stars of Marvel Rivals Esports. Cannot wait to see what he's going to be able to do in years to come with the team to be able to support him. But OUG, like, they had these really good moments where they showed that they understood when Vinny swapped over to the Captain America because they saw that the Groot and the Winter Soldier would just keep getting desynchronized. Winter Soldier, I talked to you about this actually in the green room earlier, doesn't have a direct hero counter. You just have to macro against him. Like, you have to put the pressure onto him and look for the setup to be able to isolate the both of them. If they're running the Groot, you put the pressure on either the Groot or the Winter Soldier so that if one isn't in the fight, they're not going to commit both of those ultimates. At the same time, we saw him go over to the Captain America to try to be like, okay, I'm going to run to objective, I'm going to draw as much attention as possible, the rest of my team are going to be able to get that free passage to walk onto objective, everyone's going to look to peel me, my solo's going to be able to get into position, use Angela Butterfly